The Adewale mansion glittered that Friday night. Cars lined the long driveway, engines still humming as men in starched agbadas and women in shimmering gowns stepped into the grand banquet hall. Inside, the chandeliers sparkled above polished marble floors. Waiters moved swiftly with trays of champagne while a high-life band played a familiar tune. Chief Adewale, the host, raised his glass and laughed loudly with his guests. This was his world: wealth, power, and respect. At least, so it seemed. But outside the gates, another figure stood in stark contrast. Musa, a frail man in torn clothes, leaned on a wooden stick. His face was weathered, his eyes deep but calm. Slowly, he lifted his hand and knocked on the tall iron gate. Bang! 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 The sound startled the guards. One of them opened the small latch. "Who are you? What do you want here?" "I wish to speak to Chief Adewale," Musa replied, his voice steady despite his ragged appearance. The guard laughed. "A beggar? At Chief's party." He was about to dismiss him when Musa knocked again, louder this time. The music inside faltered. Curious whispers rose as the guards dragged Musa into the hall. The laughter began almost instantly. "What is this?" "Jupe," Chief's wife shrieked. "A beggar at my celebration." Colonel, the arrogant son, smirked. Perhaps he thought the invitation was for everyone, even dogs. He picked up a bone from his plate and tossed it at Musa's feet. "Eat, if that is why you came." The guests roared with laughter. Some even clapped at the cruel joke. But Musa didn't bend. He looked around the hall, his gaze sharp enough to silence a few chuckles. Then he spoke slowly, each word ringing clear. "The one you mock today may be the one you bow to tomorrow." The hall went silent for a moment, unsettled. Then Duke burst into fresh laughter. "Get this fool out of here." The guard shoved Musa toward the door, but before leaving, he looked back once more, and his eyes met Mama Grace's, the old family servant. She froze. Recognition flickered across her face. Cliffhanger. The Adewales laughed, but one servant remembered. The morning sun streamed into the Adewale mansion, reflecting off imported Italian tiles. At the breakfast table, Chief Adewale sat with his newspaper while Jupe sipped imported coffee. Colonel scrolled through his phone, bragging about his engagement to the daughter of a powerful politician. Tola, the younger daughter, joined quietly. She wasn't as loud as her brother, though her beauty was often compared to her mother's. Jupe flipped through a fashion magazine. "We are the crown of this community. Even the governor envies us." Chief smiled. "And last night proved it. Did you see how people flocked to me?" Colonel laughed, except for that beggar who thought he was invited. The family chuckled. Only Tola frowned. "I don't know. He wasn't like other beggars. His eyes, they carried something different. Something strong." Colonel scoffed. "Sister, don't disgrace us. Authority doesn't come in rags." Chief waved it off. "Forget the fool. Here's nothing." But Mama Grace, serving silently, shook her head. She had seen something they refused to, and as she left the room, her whisper lingered. "If only you knew." Cliffhanger. The Adewales continued their pride, but doubt had entered the house. By the next afternoon, the story of the beggar at Chief's party had spread across town. At the market square, traders laughed as they recounted it. "He even knocked on the mansion gate," one woman said. "Imagine, a beggar demanding audience with Chief," another replied. But not everyone laughed. Some whispered, "His eyes were not ordinary. Did you see how he spoke without fear?" Later, Musa walked through the market. Children pointed, women giggled. A group of men taunted him. "Prophet in rags, what blessing do you bring today?" Before Musa could reply, Colonel arrived in his flashy car, music blasting. He stepped out, smirking. "Still here. Old man, do you enjoy shame?" "I endure shame," Musa replied calmly. "But pride? Pride destroys even kings." Colonel slapped him across the face. The crowd gasped. His friends laughed and tossed coins on the ground. "Here, crawl for your meal." Children scrambled, pushing and fighting for the coins. In the chaos, a small boy was trampled. Musa rushed forward, ignoring the money, and carried the boy to safety. He comforted him, cleaned his wound, and whispered, "You are worth more than gold." The crowd grew silent. The contrast was clear. Colonel humiliated, Musa healed. Cliffhanger. For the first time, the town wondered if the beggar was greater than the prince. That night, Mama Grace approached Chief Adewale's study. Her hands trembled as she knocked. "Come in," Chief barked. She stepped inside, bowing her head. "Chief, forgive me, but I must speak. That beggar, I know him." Chief frowned. "Nonsense. He is nobody." "No, Chief. Years ago, in Lagos, I saw that man. He was no beggar. He was respected. I remember him giving alms, standing tall in fine clothes. Something happened to him, but I swear it is the same man." Jupe entered, irritated. "Grace, your age has confused you. Don't bring fairy tales here." But Mama Grace's voice was steady. "Mock him if you wish, but beware. Pride blinds even the wise." Chief slammed his hand on the desk. "Enough. He is nothing. If I hear this talk again, you will regret it." Grace bowed and left silently, but Tola had overheard. Her heart pounded as she replayed the servant's words. Cliffhanger. The family dismissed the warning, but Tola began to doubt. By Sunday, Musa's story had taken on a life of its own. At the palm wine joint, men argued. "That beggar is cursed," one said. "No," another argued. "Did you not see him refuse Colonel's money? That was dignity." At church, the pastor used Musa's word in his sermon. "The one you mock today may be the one you bow to tomorrow." The congregation murmured in agreement. Meanwhile, Musa worked quietly. He patched the roof of a widow's hut. He gave his last food to hungry children. He sat under a tree teaching orphans how to read, using sticks and sand. Villagers began to see him differently. They whispered, "Perhaps he is not a beggar after all. Perhaps he is sent to test us." But in the mansion, anger grew. Colonel raged. "How dare people talk of him when my engagement is coming?" Chief waved his hand. "Let them gossip. A lion does not bow to a rat." Yet outside their gates, the crowd's laughter had shifted. No longer were they laughing at Musa. They were watching him. Respect was growing. Cliffhanger. The Adewale pride was still intact, but Musa's quiet truth was already shaking the ground beneath them. The marketplace bustled with life. Traders shouted. Children ran barefoot through the dust, and drummers beat their skins to lure buyers. Into this chaos rolled Colonel's latest toy, a brand-new black SUV. He honked loudly, forcing people out of the way. The villagers grumbled, but none dared confront him. Colonel stepped out, designer sunglasses perched on his nose, and threw a bundle of cash into the air. "Who wants money? Crawl for it." Children screamed, diving for the notes. Women scrambled, some even fighting each other. Laughter erupted from Colonel and his friends. Suddenly, a piercing cry broke the noise. A little girl had been knocked down, trampled by the crowd. While others pushed for money, Musa pushed through the bodies, lifted the child, and carried her to the shade. He tore a strip from his ragged shirt, tied her bleeding foot, and soothed her with calm words. Colonel sneered. "So, our prophet beggar is now a doctor." The villagers turned to him with sharp eyes. A man muttered, "At least he has a heart." Others nodded. For the first time, Colonel felt the crowd wasn't on his side. "You people dare compare me with this filth." Colonel shouted, but the murmurs grew louder. Musa stood, holding the child's hand. His voice was soft but firm. "Wealth is nothing if it does not serve. Pride is nothing if it destroys." The villagers bowed their heads in shame. Colonel, red with fury, stormed off. Cliffhanger. Colonel meant to humiliate Musa, but the villagers had seen the truth, and Musa's quiet strength was winning hearts. That evening, Musa returned to his small hut on the edge of the village. It looked abandoned from the outside, broken roof, mud walls, a crooked door, but inside lay a secret. He lit a lantern, revealing neat stacks of papers, ledgers, and maps hidden under an old mat. His hands traced one of the documents, a land deed. His land the Adewales now claimed as theirs. He whispered to himself, "Not yet. The time is coming." Children soon knocked at his door. "Baba Musa, Will you teach us again tonight?" He smiled and let them in. Using chalk and a crackboard, he taught them to spell words, to count numbers, and to recite proverbs. His voice was gentle, his patience endless. The children adored him. Mama Nkechi, a widow, stood outside watching. She whispered to another woman, "This man may look poor, but his spirit is richer than the chief's." As the children left, Musa sat alone, staring at the documents again. The flickering lantern light cast shadows across his face, shadows of a man who carried secrets heavier than gold. Cliffhanger, Musa's poverty was deliberate. Beneath the rags was a truth waiting to shake the Adewale's empire. Tola Adewale, restless and unhappy, sneaked into the village that afternoon. She had grown tired of her family's arrogance. She wanted to breathe where people spoke without pretense. At the market, she spotted Musa sitting quietly as traders mocked him. One threw rotten fruit at him. "Prophet of rags, what future do you see today?" They jeered. But Musa only smiled. "The proud will stumble, the humble will rise." Tola approached cautiously. "Why don't you fight back?" she asked. Musa looked at her, his eyes kind. "When you know who you are, you don't waste strength proving it to those who cannot see." Tola frowned. "Who are you then?" He chuckled softly, a man waiting for truth to speak for him. Her curiosity grew. For the first time, she saw more dignity in this beggar than in her own brother. Musa's calmness unsettled her, but also intrigued her. She left in silence, but his words echoed in her heart. Cliffhanger. Tola had seen a glimpse of Musa's hidden strength, and it stirred questions she could not ignore. Inside the mansion, tension crackled. Chief Adewale slammed his phone on the table. "Useless man," he barked. Dupe rushed in. "What is it?" "Our Lagos partner has pulled out of the project. Do you know how much we've invested already?" Colonel scoffed. "We'll find another partner. Everyone wants to work with us." But Tola, remembering Musa's words, asked quietly, "Are you sure, Baba? What if pride has closed doors we don't see?" Chief glared at her. "Don't bring foolishness into this house." Still, news spread quickly. In the market, people whispered that the Adewale Empire was shaking. Some said it was karma for mocking Musa. Others claimed Musa had cursed them. Meanwhile, Musa stood at a distance, watching the mansion from a hill. He shook his head. "The house of pride is cracking from within," he murmured. Cliffhanger. For the first time, Chief Adewale's empire showed weakness, and Musa was watching closely. A few days later, a wealthy man named Mr. Okonkwo arrived in town. He was known across Nigeria for his business empire, and his sudden appearance stirred curiosity. He asked questions no one expected. "Tell me about this beggar." "Musa, they call him. Who is he?" Villagers looked puzzled. "He is just a poor man, sir." But Okonkwo insisted. "No man carries himself like that for nothing. Tell me everything." He began digging quietly, asking Mama Grace, speaking to elders, and even watching Musa himself. The more he learned, the more his interest grew. One evening, he approached Musa directly. "I know you are no ordinary beggar. Why hide here?" Musa looked him in the eye. "Because truth has its time, and that time is near." Okonkwo smiled knowingly. "Then I shall wait with you, and when the time comes, the proud will weep." The annual village festival had arrived. Drums thundered, dancers twirled in colorful attire, and the square overflowed with people. For Chief Adewale, this was his stage. He arrived with Dupe, Colonel, and Tola in a convoy of cars, gifts piled high, musicians announcing their arrival. Let the people see who truly rules this town. Dupe boasted, waving at the crowd. Chief stood tall, handing out wads of cash to praise singers. His name was chanted, his wealth glorified. Colonel paraded like a prince, flaunting his wristwatch and designer shoes. But then, from the edge of the crowd, Musa appeared. His clothes were the same tattered rags, his stick tapping the ground as he walked slowly into the square. Laughter erupted immediately. "See, the beggar has come to the festival," someone shouted. Perhaps he came to collect crumbs from Chief again. Another jeered, but not everyone laughed. Some villagers stayed quiet, remembering how Musa helped their children, how he taught them to read, how he comforted the sick. They watched him carefully. Chief sneered, "Even at my festival, this beggar dares show his face. Guards, push him out." Before they moved, Musa raised his hand. "The festival is for all, rich or poor. Pride builds walls, but truth walks freely." The words hung in the air. The crowd grew silent. For the first time, Musa's voice carried weight, breaking through the drums. Chief laughed it off, but unease rippled through the gathering. Cliffhanger, the festival meant to glorify the Adewales, had instead given Musa a stage, and people were beginning to listen. That night, Tola lay awake, Musa's words replaying in her mind. She slipped out of the mansion, her sandals barely making a sound. Under the moonlight, she walked to the hut on the edge of the village. Musa was outside, lighting a lantern. "Why do you come here, daughter of the proud?" he asked gently. Tola hesitated. "I don't know. I feel you are not who they say you are." Musa studied her quietly before speaking. "Once, I had everything. Lands, wealth, respect. But betrayal stripped it away. I lost not because I was weak, but because I trusted the wrong men. Now I wait. When pride finishes its dance, truth will speak." Tola's eyes widened. "You mean you were once rich?" Musa smiled faintly. "Richness is not only in gold. Even now, I am richer than many." Tola felt torn between her family's arrogance and the humility she saw in this man. "What should I do?" she whispered. Musa looked at her kindly. "Seek truth, even if it hides in rags." Cliffhanger. Tola now carried Musa's secret, and her loyalty to her family began to crack. Colonel sat in a Lagos restaurant, surrounded by businessmen. He boasted loudly about his father's wealth, showing off his expensive watch. "My family is untouchable," he bragged. "Our mansion alone is worth more than your company's." The men exchanged amused glances. One finally spoke. "Young man, business is not built on arrogance. Your father's debts are already the talk of Lagos. No serious man will invest in you." Colonel froze. "Debts? Lies." They laughed and walked away, leaving him humiliated. As he stormed back to town, Colonel spotted Musa surrounded by children. They clapped as he told them a story about humility. The villagers watched fondly, smiling. Colonel's rage boiled over. He marched up and slapped Musa across the face. Gasps filled the air. "You dare turn my people against me." Colonel shouted. But something unexpected happened. Villagers stepped between Colonel and Musa. An old man said firmly, "Enough, Colonel. This man has done more for us than your entire family." Colonel looked around, stunned. The crowd he once commanded was no longer his. Cliffhanger, the heir of pride, had been publicly rejected, while the beggar was defended. Mr. Okonkwo, the wealthy stranger, visited Mama Grace privately. "Tell me what you know of Musa," he urged. Grace sighed deeply. Years ago, he was a respected businessman, betrayed by his partners, stripped of everything. But the land the Adewales boast of, it belongs to him. I saw the papers with my own eyes. Okonkwo leaned forward. "And he hides this why?" "Because truth has a season," Grace whispered, "and that season is here." Later that night, Musa opened his chest of documents to Okonkwo. Title deeds, receipts, court judgments long ignored. "These lands, these estates, they are mine," Musa said calmly. "The Adewales built their empire on stolen ground." Okonkwo's eyes narrowed. "Then it is time the world knew." Musa shook his head. "Not yet. Let their pride rise higher, so their fall will be complete." Cliffhanger. The truth was out. Musa held the very foundation of the Adewale's empire in his hands. Days later, Musa received a letter delivered by hand. It was old, yellowing, yet preserved with care. The signature at the bottom was unmistakable, Chief Adewale's late father. It was a confession. In it, the old man admitted that the lands Musa owned had been forcefully taken when Musa was ruined. He begged for forgiveness and warned his children not to continue in pride. Musa read it slowly, tears in his eyes. Even he knew pride cannot last. Meanwhile, Mama Grace discovered the letter's contents. She trembled. If this comes out, the Adewales will be finished. Musa folded the letter gently. I do not seek revenge. I seek restoration. And when the time comes, the truth will not be hidden. Cliffhanger, with the letter in his hand, Musa had the final proof, and the Adewale's days of pride were numbered. The Adewale mansion no longer shone like a palace. Its once sparkling fountain were dry, its gates crowded with angry men in suits, debt collectors. Their voices rose like thunder. You owe us, Chief Adewale. Pay or we seize your assets. Chief stood on the balcony, his agbada fluttering in the wind, trying to look powerful. Leave my house at once, he shouted. But his voice cracked. His enemies could smell the weakness. Inside, the dining table was bare. Jupe trembled as she sipped plain water, muttering, How did it come to this? Colonel smashed a wine glass, yelling, It's that beggar. He's behind all this. But the truth was simple. Their pride had blinded them, and now the cracks were breaking wide open. In the village square, Musa sat quietly beneath a tree. Villagers whispered around him. Do you hear? The mighty Adewales cannot even pay their guards. Mama Grace approached him. They are collapsing. Musa, now is your chance. Musa shook his head slowly. Truth doesn't need haste. Pride will finish its own work. Back at the mansion, unpaid guards abandoned their posts. For the first time in years, the Adewale gate stood unguarded. The people of the town laughed not at Musa, but at the family once untouchable. Cliffhanger, the walls of arrogance were crumbling, but Musa had not yet revealed the final blow. Dinner that night was tense. The Adewales sat in silence, chewing stale bread. Then Tola pushed her plate aside and stood. Her voice shook at first but grew stronger. I cannot stay silent anymore, she declared. Her mother frowned. What are you saying, Tola? I have met Musa. He is not what you think. He is a man of dignity. He lost everything, but he carries himself with more honor than all of us put together. Colonel slammed his fist. How dare you speak for that beggar? But Tola didn't flinch. I will not lie anymore. He is a man of truth. You, all of you, are drowning in pride, and I refuse to drown with you. Chief's face turned red. You disgrace this family in front of us. No, father, she replied, tears in her eyes. It is you who disgrace us before the world. Her words cut like a blade. Dupe lowered her head, unable to meet her daughter's eyes. Colonel stormed out in rage. Chief sat frozen, defeated not by Musa this time, but by his own daughter's truth. Cliffhanger. Tola had broken free of her family's pride and chosen to stand with Musa. The courthouse was overflowing. Villagers pressed against the windows, eager to witness history. On one side, the Adewales sat in expensive clothes, their faces pale. On the other sat Musa, calm in his rags, with Mr. Okonkwo by his side. The judge banged his gavel. This court will hear the case of Musa versus Adewale regarding stolen lands and illegal possession. Chief Bach, this is madness. He is a beggar. But Musa rose slowly. From his worn bag, he laid out documents on the table, land deeds signed in his name, receipts of ownership, and finally, the letter, Chief Adewale's father's confession. Gasps filled the hall. The judge read aloud, I took from Musa what was not mine. If my children continue in pride, they will fall. Restore what belongs to him. The courtroom buzzed with murmurs. Duke covered her face. Colonel shouted, Lies? Forged lies. But the evidence was undeniable. The judge's gavel struck. This court rules in Musa's favor. The Adewale family is guilty of theft. Their lands are restored to Musa. The villagers erupted in cheers. For the first time, the beggar stood victorious. The Adewale mansion, once alive with music, now echoed with silence. Their cars were gone, their servants dismissed. The family sat in the empty living room like ghosts of themselves. Colonel stared into a bottle of gin. How could we fall to that beggar? His words slurred. Dupe, stripped of her jewelry, sobbed quietly. We mocked him, and now look at us. Chief wandered the halls, touching the walls with trembling hands. My father warned me. Pride has destroyed us. Meanwhile, In the village, the people surrounded Musa. The same mouth that once spat insults now offered respect. They bowed as he walked, calling him Baba Musa, our leader. But Musa did not gloat. His voice was calm. Do not bow to me. Bow to truth. It is truth that broke pride, not I. Mama Grace wept, whispering, At last, justice. Cliffhanger. The proud were broken, but Musa's true victory would not be in wealth. It would be in what he did next. Weeks later, the mansion gate swung open again, but this time not for pride. Children in neat uniforms marched through, books in their hands. The grand hall had been turned into a school. A section had been made into a hospital wing. The once proud home now served the people. Villagers marveled. He has everything now, yet he still lives humbly. One afternoon, Musa stood at the gate, watching children play. Mama Grace asked softly, Why not live here as a chief you now are? Musa smiled. Because wealth is nothing if it does not lift others. Pride builds walls. Humility builds bridges. Tola, standing beside him, added, Your story will live forever. They mocked you as a beggar, but now you teach us what true wealth means. Musa tapped his stick against the gate, the same sound from that fateful night. Bang, bang, bang. But this time, no laughter followed. Instead, cheers rose. The beggar has become our leader. Musa looked to the sky, whispering, The one they mocked is the one they bow to today. The screen faded to black.